Welcome back to another GR8 podcast episode. I'm excited. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us for a couple minutes. We're going to have a guest appearance, sort of. So I apologize for not getting this up on time. I'm trying to make a schedule out of the GR8 podcast and my YouTube channel and Twitch and everything. But once I go away for the weekend, I'm done. Like I have to figure out how to. Usually, I try to do things over the weekend so I can get things on time. Because I try to have a schedule for Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Sundays and whatnot. I'm just trying to work out the kinks of all that. And when I don't have time during the week, and I really don't have time during the weekend, just try to figure it all out. And I'm sorry this is coming to you. This is coming to you very, very late. I'm going to be honest. The last episode of The Last of Us aired actually last week on Sunday. So I just wanted to come here, talk about it. Let's hear what we have to say. Let's hear what I have to say about The Last of Us. Is going to be a review on the show The Last of Us Season 1 on HBO Max starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. So honestly, let's just get into it. So I have played both of the games, and I love them. I played The Last of Us 1 and Last of Us Part 2. It was over 2020, so I had COVID. I didn't have COVID, but everybody had COVID, just sitting in their house. And I went out and I was like, I'm going to buy these games. I want to just play through them. And I don't usually play single player campaign games where you just go through level and progress through the game, where you have like a certain amount of hours that you play, like 20 to 30 to 40 hours a game. I really like action RPGs, kind of like Skyrim, Fallout, and games of it, kind of like Cyberpunk 2077. And I usually play, like, my main rotation is Call of Duty, Fortnite, and Minecraft. That's been like that for years. And every now and then I step out of my comfort zone and get a little taste of what actual gaming is. So I'm glad that I was able to go buy and do The Last of Us. But The Last of Us stands out to me. Not just that I played it as a single player campaign or anything along those lines, as I played it as a survival horror game, and I really don't play those. But The Last of Us stands out to me. The original Last of Us was revolutionary in video game cinematic storytelling, where these characters that you play as are real fleshed out characters in a world very, very similar to us. That's why it was so popular, that you can connect with it. And not anymore are you playing as pixels on a screen. You're actually playing as a real person and character and going through their emotions with them. And that's and that's the thing, right? It's a video game where you play as the characters and you control their actions. You almost sometimes make their decisions in some form or fashion. You almost become these characters, giving this sense of assimilation between the player and the character, with you holding the controller, and whatever you do on the controller, what happens on screen. And that's why you have so many video game to movie or TV show adaptations flop, because the movie and TV show medium simply cannot do what video games do. They can't dive you in the world like video games can. It's a whole nother a depth to a world that a video game can give you. Like GTA 5, you actually feel like a bank robber, and you actually feel like a person that's actually committing Grand Theft Auto and committing murders and killing cops and things like that, because you're actually doing that in the video game. Like Minecraft, you have your real life, right? But you can't build anything. It takes so much time, effort, money, landscaping, a business, tons of money to build like a house that you want or something like that. But in Minecraft, all it takes is $20 and you can do almost whatever you want. And all that to say that The Last of Us is great, the show and the game, but you still lose the feeling of actually feeling the decisions of these characters, because you're just watching what is happening on the screen, right? When you watch the show of The Last of Us. I love the character of Joel, but only because I play the game. Same thing with Ellie. I love these characters and I was so excited for the story, but only because I played the game. And I think that's like almost goes into this like almost mental state of, I played the game, so I know I know everything that's going to happen. So whatever happens in this show that didn't happen in the game was going to surprise me, and I was probably already automatically going to like it because it was different. They thought outside the box. And it was so much fun to watch this with my girlfriend Lauren, who has just no idea what The Last of Us was. And I was like, Lauren, I remember telling her 9 or I guess 10 weeks ago now, back when I was in Disney, I said, Lauren, we're going to watch this show. We're going to watch it every Sunday night. We are going to watch the show, and I want you to watch this show because these games didn't really change my life, but it made me think. It made me critically think about moral decisions, and that's why I'm going to have a special guest character, a special guest, Lauren, on my show. I told her to phone in a little voice recording about what she thought, because obviously she's not here with me, and even if she was, I don't have multiple mics or anything like that kind of set up. So I just told her, give me about 2 minutes, tell me what you think, tell me what you feel about the show, and I'll have that play now.
All right, guys, I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet, but I actually really enjoyed The Last of Us. I wasn't familiar with the game at all before the show came out and before Nate mentioned it to me. I kind of just thought it was your run-of-the-mill zombie apocalypse type show, like The Walking Dead. Normally, shows like that aren't really my speed, so I wasn't sure how invested I was going to be in The Last of Us. I loved Joel and Ellie's characters. I thought they were so much fun to keep up with. I loved how their relationship developed throughout the show. I think Pedro Pascal and the girl who played Ellie, I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but I thought they really did a great job at portraying these two characters. And I also love how, I didn't know this beforehand, but Nate pointed out to me when we were watching that they included the original characters from the game in smaller parts in the show. So I thought that was kind of cool. I love how I didn't feel like I had to play the game in order to understand what was going on during the show. I felt like I could follow along the storyline very easily. But at the same time, they didn't give so much away that it was predictable. Because I didn't play the game, I had no clue what was going to happen next, and I feel like they did a great job of keeping that a mystery. I also like how they didn't make everything so confusing and so over your head that you lose interest. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the show. I think it was well made. It was, something that I didn't expect to like that I actually was really invested in. So I'm excited for season 2 and where they go with it, because again, I have no clue what the storyline is. But yeah, so overall rating would probably be an 8.5 out of 10. But yeah.
So yeah, there you go. There's Lauren. That's what her thoughts were. It was overly positive. I really like how it was so interesting to watch it with somebody that had no idea what was going to happen. And I asked her throughout the show, what are your theories? What are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen? And she was like critically thinking, because she could tell and she can understand that this show is a lot different from what she mentioned is The Walking Dead, like another zombie show. But it almost, The Walking Dead, after season after season after season, seemed like it was just following the same pattern, following the same footsteps. But like all the other zombie shows, you deal with the infected, and you deal with like the humans. But I love The Last of Us because it takes it one step further about this father and daughter. I guess pseudo father and daughter. You watch the show as they become one throughout the show. And that all of like the storyline, I don't really want to go into the storyline, the mechanics, and like how they shot the show and what I liked. But I wanted to go into the good and the bad, what I liked and what I didn't like about specifically the show. And I'm going to compare it a lot to the video game, because that's what the show is based off of, a video game that I really like. So overall, I liked the show. I think it was great. I really, really liked it. I think there was a couple nitpicks that I do want to make, but overall, I really do like it. Well, the best thing is acting. Bella Ramsey, Ding Dong Lauren didn't know her name. Bella Ramsey, fantastic as Ellie. And a lot of people are like, oh, she doesn't really look like her. And I'm like, yeah, she doesn't. But she looks close enough, and she acts exactly how Ellie would. Reads comic books, tells goofy jokes, is always this bright and bubbly character that understands the world around her, but that's what she was born in. So she just takes a bunch of people dying as like, I'm used to this. And that's Joel's character, that's where Joel's character comes in, where I don't want you to see this because I've seen this before. I'm a disgruntled old man that my daughter died, so I can't let this girl die. And I think Pedro Pascal does a great job of portraying that kind of idea as well. I love the cinematography. I think it was a very well acted and shot and edited show. So all the technical and technicality about the show is very good. It was shot very well. It was lit very well. I love the costuming. I love the makeup and effects of the infected. I want to point out the cinematography because, especially in episode 2 or 3, with the one-off shoot with the two characters, that show is so beautifully paced and beautifully shot. I remember the very last shot. This is kind of spoilers, kind of not, but like honestly, just go watch the show. At the end of the episode, it pans out and you don't see the dead bodies, but you see Joel and Ellie drive away. But it pans. That doesn't pan. I guess it zooms or dollies back, and you see more of the window, and then you think you're about to see the dead body, and then it cuts. So you never see those dead bodies. You never see their death. You just know the loneliness that is still in that house. That's the cinematography. That's what I grabbed from the ending of that episode. I do like the creative liberties that they made with this show. Referring to, I think it was episode 3, right? It had to be. Creative liberties such as that, and I love how they expanded on things. Love how they expanded on what was already part of the story of the game. What's something that we can still be respectful of the game. And by the way, it's written by the same guy, Neil Druckmann. It's written by the same guy. So it's not like some fanboy or whatever going out and just making another thing of The Last of Us. It's the same guy that wrote the video game as he did the show. So any sort of changes, any sort of ideas that were expounded upon, that were changed, anything that was detailed, it seemed natural. Right? It seemed natural. These are natural things. These are natural characters that we're just seeing more of. And I like that. I thought that was great. And I think everybody coming into the show understood that this show is just going to be simply different from the video game. Again, like I said earlier, you can't play this show. You can only watch it. So I think they use that in correct ways with the acting, cinematography, the editing, but also the creative liberties, such as the cold opens, which I know were at the beginning of the first 2 episodes. And it's kind of jarring that they didn't have more of those. With The Last of Us, I'm really into the very narrowed down nature of the story between Joel and Ellie and how they make their way through the country. But very rarely, even at the beginning of the show, you don't really see much of the world beforehand. You kind of see a neighborhood, you kind of see a small town, but you don't really see how the rest of the world is kind of being affected until you see the rest of the show where they make their way through the country. But yet, still, like, how is the rest of the world dealing with this virus? And the cold open shows multiple different places with multiple different people trying to understand, trying to get a hold of what is happening with this cordyceps fungi. And I love that. I love that sort of idea where it's like this mystery back in, I think it was the 80s or the 90s or whatever. This I think that was the first cold open. This sort of what is going on here. Something could happen. And if we don't do anything about it, then everything goes bad. So I love this cold opens. I love how they expanded on. They didn't expand on the story. I think where I would have, not liked it is if, like, in these cold opens they had, this is this person's daughter, or this is person's father, or whatever, goofy stuff like that. But I'm glad that they kept it separate, but it was still connected to how the infection and how the virus started. I like that. And I'm going to go with the bad. There's not a whole lot. I think a lot of the show was rushed. I'm going to be honest. I think the last episode, I was so looking forward to it because I was so waiting for the decision for Joel to turn back around and go save Ellie. And the episode, like if you obviously you've seen it, you played the game or whatever, you know how it goes. Like he wakes up in the hospital and they take him out and they take him outside, and then he turns around. He's like, no, I'm going to go back in. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to go get Ellie because I can't let them kill her. And I love that choice. I love that whole idea and that how you have to play through it to the game because you actually are Joel. But that's besides the point. I think the episode was a little bit rushed because I think it was almost 5 minutes between he wakes up in the hospital to when he starts killing everybody. 5, 6, 7 minutes. And I don't think that's enough time. I think would have been a good amount of time is him waking up in the hospital and being told by the Fireflies that Ellie is going to be the surgery is probably going to kill her. We have to go at her brain, and he gets sent out of the hospital. I want a little scene of him just sitting there trying to process it all, because obviously you see like close-ups of Pedro Pascal trying to process it all through his eyes and through his facial muscles and whatnot. But I don't think there was enough time for I don't think there's enough time for the audience to completely understand his point of view. You don't even have to say anything to understand his point of view. He could have just been let out of the hospital, and then he would have been outside, and he sits there and he stands there with this decision that he's making a decision by not making a decision in this hypothetical way. But in my world, this would have happened. He would have turned back around and went back inside and to kill everybody in the hospital. Rather, in the show, it takes him very, very fast for them to escort him down one flight of stairs, and then he's like, F this, and he starts killing everybody. He takes their guns and starts making his way through the hospital. I know I'm in the bad, but I do like how the ending fight with him just mowing down people throughout the hospital, that you could still hear people scream, you could still hear the gunshots, but the music took center stage with that. You saw Joel and you saw his eyes and you saw his actions and reloading the gun and switching guns, but it's all overlaid with the score of the show, and I really like that. I love how I think I would have liked a almost slow, smooth, like they did, a suspenseful, intense sort of score over than just like super intense action fight scenes, music or whatever. And I also would have really liked if they had no music at all. You just heard the screams and you just heard the gunshots. I think that something like that would have been cool as well. But I do think that that decision was just a little bit rushed for somebody that's not watching the show. And I think throughout the show, I think with Lauren, it's perfect for somebody that has not played the game. But I try to see it in the perspective of somebody that's not played the game, and I think the decision to kill everybody and rip away humanity's only chance of survival, I don't think that choice stuck with them enough. That's just my thought. And then obviously what everybody's saying is that there's not a whole lot of infected in the show. I would 100% agree. I don't think there's as enough infected throughout the show. I know there's a couple episodes where there's whole set pieces centered around the infected. However, I wish we would have seen them in every single episode in some way, shape, and form where this virus has affected the world in a negative way. And a lot of the show, or at least a lot of the game, it's like half infected, or like 60% infected, 40% humans. Where in the show, it's like 80% humans and like 20% infected. Almost, sort of. So you see like the downfall of humanity, of how they would deal with the apocalypse. And that's interesting in and of itself. But if the whole idea is to transport Ellie from one place to another because she's immune and maybe get a vaccine for this type of thing, and we don't see much infected, it's almost like, well, I don't really feel the threat, so I can't really buy in to the solution just yet. I didn't see very many infected. And what I did see, they seemed, dangerous and hard to kill for one or two people, you know? What about a whole group? And of course, you saw the big horde with the bloater. That was scary. That was crazy. That was fun. That was fast. That was bloody, so gory, so action-packed. I love that that scene when Joel's up in the tower, up in the, not tower, I guess, but up in the house shooting people and making sure Ellie's safe, only specifically making sure Ellie was safe. And I love that. And that was like their big action set piece. That was it. That's what they spent a whole lot of their budget on. And I really like that. That and the production design and whatnot. But still, I wish there was more infected throughout the show. I wish that we just like the game. I wish that we gotta go this way because the path that we have to go through is blocked. So let's take a right. Oh no, now we have to fight through some infected. Okay, now we're back on the path. I wish something like that through the show would have happened. Oh man, we're in this situation where we have to fight the infected because this is such a terrible thing that has happened to humanity. In the long run, and in an overgeneralization, it's almost like the apocalypse wasn't even started by the infected. It was more or less started by just something, like planes crashing and everybody going crazy. I don't know. I know you get a lot of that with the episode with the bloater and then also the very first episode where you see the downfall of humanity. But if you don't see the threat throughout the show, then you don't buy into the solution for the show. So that's just my thoughts. That's my quick little thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed The Last of Us. I hope you go watch it and see it and make your own opinion. I think it was a great, fantastic show. I think there's a couple little things I wish they would have changed and maybe dove into or different little things. But I'm glad that you guys have been watching, listening, hearing me, doing things with me and my channel and my content. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next one.